a solid financial foundation. I have operations here in the United States. I'm licensed in many states in the US, including, I know most of you are in the East Coast. So just so you know, I'm licensed in Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, and pretty much most states, including California, New York, Illinois. So I'm fully licensed in many states across the country. I also have operations in Canada. I am married with 4 children, ranging from 25 all the way to 14 years old. My 14-year-old always challenged me to social media because, I am still old school. But, these days, I know we also have to learn to be in social media to promote our businesses and promote, whatever we do. So, I also have a challenge, but I love to travel. I love to travel, spend time with family, and I live in Houston, Texas. One fact about me, I do have an infectious smell. Only those who know me so close would know, but because my business, my industry is all about, the money and the finances, I seem to be uptight sometimes, but I promise you, I can make you laugh. Well, so a little bit about myself. One thing I always like to share my belief, right? If I can help someone by providing them the tools they need to be successful, I believe that they would also provide same to others in order to help, one's limited mindset transform to what? An abundance and limitless potential. Why do I say this? We typically don't know what we don't know, right? And I want you to give yourself a pat in the back, the fact that you have made time to be here with us and to listen to information. Because to say knowledge is power, but of course, knowledge without implementation, it's also useless, right? But the things we know are always limited. We are limited by the things we know. The things we don't know, it's limitless. So giving yourself the opportunity to know the things you don't know always puts you in a space where you have that abundance mind and then move forward in, whatever it is you're doing, your career, your passion, you move forward into the next, opportunity. So my purpose here is to move my community. Like I mentioned, I'm from Ghana, move my community from financial insecurity to financial security through financial literacy education and implementation. My goal is to infuse at least $10 billion in our community by the year 2030. That way, we are able to what? Create wealth for the next generation. I tell folks that, hey, it is no fault of, ours that we did not come into the country and immediately know how to manage our finances because maybe, I mean, we did not grow up here. And even within the country, in the middle class, these parents did not know. So, hey, we know now we have to do what? Teach our children. We have to sit at a table, talk to our children about money so that they would not have an excuse to say that I did not know because we knew and we impacted the knowledge to the next generation. And we also do our part doing the right things, implementing solution, implementing strategies that would also generate wealth for the next generation. If we do not do this together, I know this country has come a long way when it comes to diversity, equity, racism. We have come a long way. But if we do not continue to pursue the financial literacy education, learn, teach our children, it's going to take another 200 years to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the not so wealthy. So that is why I do what I do, and this is my purpose. I always like to share that before we dig in. So, hey, my broker company is Wealth Financial Group, and I also have my own private financial company here. We are part of a new industry to help families. So we are on a national financial literacy campaign. So as you can see on my screen now, you see 30 by 30. What that means is our mission is to educate 30 million Americans by the year 2030. And I have also taken it upon myself to do what? Infuse $10 billion in my own community by the time we accomplish this mission. You see the badge on here which says National Financial Literacy Campaign. This is the badge that I wear every single day, and I wear it with a badge of honor. Why? Because I am so passionate about the education so that we empower families so they can become their own money managers. Why? If anyone should care about their money, it is you. It is you and not me. But in order for you to now think about your money, be in the money, know what your money is doing for you, it is important that you understand these strategies and concepts that have previously been reserved for the wealthy. But now we are lucky we have that information available to share with everybody. So talking about trying to reach that 30-30 goal, I I'm a firm believer that we can accomplish that goal. Why? Because the income gap continue to widen. The wealth gap continue to widen. If you look at this chart right on the screen here, the bottom, the sliver purple at the bottom of the screen represent the bottom 50%. If you combine that to the yellow section, that represents 90% of the population in the United States. In other words, majority of the population share minority of the wealth, just about 24%. Now, if you look at the top green, which is the deep green, that represent 1%, combined with the light green, the next 9%, 10% of Americans, quote unquote, are considered the wealthy Americans who control a whopping 76% of the country's. So why do the rich continue to grow rich and the poor continue to be on the same path? What is really scary from this math, if you look at 2010, the purple sliver was almost flat. That is very scary. If you look close to 2020, 2021, when we had the economic downturn of COVID and everything was, shut down and so on, guess what? The wealthy exponentially grew their wealth. And you would wonder, even in an economic downturn, the wealthy knew so much to continue to grow their wealth whilst we tried to, we were trying to make it happen, right? But if you look at the difference, it's alarming. Well, this is not so gloomy because as I go through this conversation, it's just an encouragement that there is hope. And why? If we are able to educate ourselves, I used to be financially illiterate, but if we are able to educate ourselves, we would not worry anymore because now we can confidently, go over our finances, strategies, and start thinking ahead and be confident as to when we want to retire, our retirement age, our retirement number, know the strategies, know where we are going, know the gaps in our financial plan, and be able to retire with dignity. At the end of the day, the goal is to retire with dignity. I don't want to say that, hey, we want to have a modest retirement. We always want to have a solid retirement and retire with dignity. So that being said, when it comes to wealth, wealth only goes through three phases. We can build wealth in three phases. We grow wealth through our accumulation stage, which is pretty much now. Distribution stage, which would mean, retirement, we're trying to withdraw our money. And then, of course, the estate transfer stage. A lot of people, although a lot of people pay attention to the accumulation stage, they want to invest, they want to, put money in places that would give them some, returns. I feel like knowing the distribution stage, knowing the strategies to use in the distribution phase is equally important because that is when we lose money. When we are distributing our money through retirement and we are taking our money out, it is important to know where to take your money so you don't lose your the value of your money in taxes, of course, and to inflation as well. The other part of estate of wealth transfer or wealth generation is estate transfer, and I'll tell you that is near and dear to my heart because I make this example in the year of in 2022. The state of Texas, of course, I live in Texas. The state of Texas was holding 7 billion. I mean, billion with a B in unclaimed property. Simply put, if you do not protect your asset legally, if you do not put the right documentation in place for your asset, guess what? It gets turned over to the state and the state has your money. A lot of people do not do the right things to be able to transfer their wealth to the next generation. And sometimes when let's say we get closer to God, we got called to glory, our asset, our asset and I mean like our asset or our estate pretty much cut off. And our next generation, our children, would have to start where we started. But we have to change our mindset. We have to be in the mindset where our children will continue from where we or where we ended and not going back all the way to start from where we started. And these are some of the strategies that we will talk about as we go through our few the next slides so that we understand the comprehensive financial planning from accumulation, distribution, and estate transfer. Now the question becomes, it's not about peddling products. It is not about peddling, companies, but the ultimate goal is to build a solid financial foundation. Okay. What do I mean by a financial foundation? Pretty represents your financial house, right? When you are building your financial house, it starts with what we call the protection. That is the foundation of your financial house, protection. And it's not just any protection, because whenever we talk protection, the first thing that comes to mind is life insurance. Absolutely. It is one of the most powerful financial planning tool, but not just any protection, but the right protection. The industry standard says that you need at least 10 times your income in protection. Why? You need to protect your asset. You need to protect your mortgage. You need to protect yourself should you become chronically or critically ill. And you need to protect your income 10 times. Why 10 times? Should you become disabled? Should you become sick? Your protection should now your income should be replaced 10 years before your family start going to find money, right? So that is kind of the reason why I mean the industry standard has it as 10 years. But as I go on, I can show you some more strategies that we always and talk about. Now, the next step in building your financial house is debt management. Okay. And debt management, I'm sure we all have one, I mean, one credit card or the other, right? We have student loan. The idea in order to build a solid financial house, number one, the second step is to manage your debt to zero. Okay. I am totally against consumer debt, but you can use some, really good debt to actually build wealth. Okay. But when it comes to consumer debt, it's just like having a bucket with holes underneath. You pour water in there, it comes out. You pour water, it comes out. Guess what? Whenever you pay off your credit card, it doesn't mean you need to go swipe it again. We use our credit card as an emergency fund. No. By managing it, we seal the holes at the bottom. And now when we fill the bucket, it becomes full and then it turns over into our emergency fund. Industry standard says, hey, we need to start saving at least 6 months of our expenses towards emergency funds should anything happen. We all know that emergencies happen. My car break down, my AC has broken down, something would happen one way or the other, but we should have that extra, funds or, money in our, I mean, somewhere that we can easily, I mean, have access to it and be able to resolve any emergencies. So the industry standard says six, but I am a firm believer that we should start with six, and our goal is to have 12 months. Why? Because during the COVID time, we saw people staying home for a full year without a job. So if that happened to you or it happened to me, we should be able to continue what? Our regular monthly expenses for 12 months and not necessarily six. But hey, six is a good starting point or it's a good goal with the ultimate goal to get to 12 months. And the roof of your house is investment. Your investment, your goal is to be working towards 20 times your income. Why 20 times your income? The typical or the proverbial retirement age is 65. If you have 20 times your income in your investment at that age, guess what? Now you can live 20 more years without trying to struggle with retirement income because every year you can live off like the way you were living whilst you were working for 20 years. So 65 plus 20, you're looking about what? 85 years. Very comfortable, right? So always plan towards 20 times your income in investment. Question here is when you are building this house, we build it from ground up. Unfortunately, a lot of us build this house from the top down. Most of us, when we talk investment, we start looking at, when we talk our financial house, we start looking at investment first, and we forget about the foundation. We are the mother goose. We are the father goose, laying the golden eggs. And we forget about protecting ourselves, our health, our income, how to protect our income, and even what? Our asset. So that should be the paramount. That should be the number one thing we do when we are building our financial house. Now, talking about, our financial house, we need to figure out where are we? Because at any point in time, this seems ideal. However, where are you financially? So typically, in our accumulation stage, we always have debt. We have debt responsibilities. We have a house. We have, car. We have children. We have so many debt responsibility. Throughout, these years, what we are doing is we are working our way with the hope that we can reduce our debt responsibility when we get to retirement. And in the process, what do? We don't have a lot of wealth because we are now working to accumulate our wealth so that we can be financially secured in our retirement or be independent. Throughout this roadmap, we always have the challenges of what inflation, risk in our portfolio, access, and even we have challenges in our health because we are not going to be like this forever. If we master the skill of navigating through all these challenges and we also manage our debt responsibilities, then that is where we would consider ourselves financial independence. Typically, on the left side of this um, chat, this is where we are generally insecure, right? And most of the time, we protect ourselves with insurance. We protect our car, we protect our house, we protect our children, we protect ourselves, right? Hopefully we do. But this is when we are generally insecure. And in protecting our asset, what do? We assign our responsibilities to our insurance so that should anything happen, should there be an imbalance in our life, when life does what life does, guess what? We are made whole. And that is the idea of, protecting ourselves with insurance, usually when you're generally insecure. And if we navigate the roadmap well, the wealth roadmap well, hey, guess what? We would be over insured through our retirement age, through when we get, we get older, and this is where we become financially independent. Throughout this stage, we have what we call the 10-20 rule. And I talked about the 10-20 rule earlier. You protect yourself 10 times your income, and by the time you get to your financial freedom, you already have your 20 times your income as your what? Investment, so that you can live happily ever after until we are called to glory. But the goal is, hey, we protect ourselves every stages of our financial life. And we protect ourselves when in case something should happen when we die too soon. We protect ourselves should we live too long. And that is the ultimate goal. Now, as we continue to take care of our family, I mean, it's important we also touch a little on insurance and insurability. So, as I mentioned in the financial house, the foundation should be your protection. When I joined this industry, I thought I thought I knew it all. I thought I was protected. Only did I know that I was underprotected because even calculating your protection needs, it requires you to understand what we call the DIME concept. DIME. Whenever you are determining your protection need, you need to take into account the debt you owe, your credit cards, your student loan, any other debts you owe. You pull them together, you replace your income 10 times. So you multiply your income 10 times, you add in your mortgage balance. You have a home, there's a balance of 200,000 on there. You need to add it into the calculation. And then your children's college fund. Yes, we have children, some of the children already in college, but so that varies, it varies from, family to family. But assuming that you have kids that are yet to go to college, you should always be thinking about their college funding. These days, college can be expensive. So in this particular example, let's say you have two children, every child is going to cost about 60,000 for college. Hey, 120,000 is something that we need to what assign to as a responsibility to our protection. Taking all this into consideration, we're looking at about 730,000 of protection. And like I said, when I came into this industry, I had 100,000 here, I had 50,000 there, and only did I know that I was way underinsured because if anything should happen to me, if I become sick, my mortgage company would not, give me a break. They wouldn't say I'm sick, therefore don't pay your mortgage. They are still going to come for their mortgage. So I should be able to what? Be able to assign that responsibility and pay off my mortgage. So now that we know how to calculate our protection need, the question becomes, are you even insurable? Okay. Um, we know that the numbers don't lie. There's a lifetime risk of cancer, and 1 out of 2 men will develop cancer, and 1 out of 4 would die. And it goes to for women as well. 1 out of 3 would develop cancer, and 1 out of 5 may die. 80 million Americans have one type of heart disease. I know that back home, we were not so used to all these little diseases here. This is that. I mean, only in America. Even if you sneeze, they say it's allergies, right? And no offense to my doctors here, but saying this to say that, yeah, I mean, it is real. I mean, when it comes to our health, diminishing along the line during retirement, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because we would never be, I mean, the same, right? We would not be like this forever. So that being said, now let's talk around our retirement. So yesterday's stool of retirement, the typical way that we saw retirement was, hey, we could retire with Social Security, we could retire with our company pensions, but we all know that Social Security is not sustainable by the time we get to retirement. When Social Security the program was created in the 1940s, guess what? Any one person retiring, we had 40 people working to fund Social Security. Money. We have money to help one person to retire. But in this recent ages, every one person retiring, only 3 people. The math doesn't match. One person retiring, only 3 people are funding it, are working to fund the Social Security. Social Security will not be sustainable for sure. Company pensions. Most companies have moved from the defined plan to qualified plan, whereby they give you 401k, they give you some, they match, I mean, you contribute some, they match you some. Of course, they don't match it all, they only match you some. So globally, company pensions, only 3% of companies globally continue to provide company pensions. So I tell folks, hey, lucky you if you work in one of those companies that provide you pensions, meaning that our retirement responsibility has totally shifted to our personal savings. First thing is, how many of us know how to save well, right? So that we would have enough money and we'll have built wealth, right? In retirement. This brings me to what we call the wealth formula. At any point in time, this is something that we have to know every time, and we have to teach our children. The wealth formula, all it says is you need to have money. We all know that we need to work for money. When you save, you have to save over time, have a rate of return that would outpace inflation and would also what eliminate taxes if possible, right? Inflation and taxes are the silent killers of money, right? So it is always, always important that you understand, inflation, understand taxes. That way you are able to build wealth. I mean, consistently over time. I don't believe in getting rich quick schemes because when it comes to wealth, you can only do it over time. Now, with this wealth formula, I always like to compare that to your mortgage. When you have a mortgage, what do? You pay money over 30 years or over 15 years, right? And then you pay an interest. You pay the rate of return on your mortgage. That rate of return that you pay, it always, always outpaces inflation. When inflation used to be all-time low, 2 to 3%, mortgage companies will give you interest, 3.75, 4%, 5%. And when inflation last couple of years was, up there 6%, guess what? Mortgage companies will give you interest at 7%, 7.5%, right? Why? Because they do not want to lose the value of their money over 30 years. And guess who pays the taxes? You. You are the one who pays the taxes. So corporations, banks are so good at using the wealth formula to build wealth over 30 years. By the time you are done paying your mortgage, you have built the wealth for the bank two times, three times the value of your house, and you would have been left with a 30-year-old house. And this is by no means saying that, home ownership is not great. I'm a homeowner, so, and I love real estate, but I'm using this as an example so that, we can start reflecting on how we build our wealth. When we are saving money, when we are investing, when we're looking at our rate of return, when we're looking at our inflation, when we ethically and legally managing our taxes that, we can, use tax efficient strategies to build wealth. So that is the goal here. And now that, we've talked a little bit about the wealth formula, this is my favorite topic I always like to share. We need to know how money works. And this honestly has to be interactive. Does anybody have heard about the rule of 72? I'm sure some of you have heard about the rule of 72. You can put it in the chat or you can unmute and, just let me know. Anyone heard about the rule of 72? Okay. So, what the rule of 72 says, it's just a mathematical concept. It it's all about the premise, right, around compound interest. It's been here since Einstein, and Einstein says that it's the eighth wonder of the world. If you know it, you earn it. And if you don't know it, you pay it. It is a mathematical concept that says that if you take the constant 72 and you divide it by your rate of return, i.e., your interest, it will tell you how many years your money will double. Okay. So as you can see on my screen, let's say, hey, I have a place that I put my money and it gives me 4%. Every 18 years, my money will double. Dr. Eugenia have a place that, gives her 8%. Every 9 years, her money would double. And let's say Miss Lillian has a place that would, she puts her money and she earns 12%. Every 6 years, her money will double. We all started at age 21. We all started with 10,000. Well, by the time I hit 65, my money doubles, every 18 years at age 47, 20. And by the time I hit 65, my 10,000 has what? Doubled to 40 or has, multiplied to 40. And this is the premise of compound interest, right? By the time Dr. Eugenia hit 65, because she had a place that gave her 8% and her money was doubling every 90 years, she will be 160,000 rich, way better than 40,000. And because Lillian had a place that gave her 12%, by the time she gets to 65, The money has grown to what, 640. Much, much better. The question becomes, where do we put our money? Most of us put our money in the bank. And I challenge you here that the bank does not even give you 1%. The bank give you 0 point something percent. Okay. Now the question, try to be very generous. Let's just say the bank is giving you 1%. If the bank is giving you 1%, how many years do you think your money will double if you put your money in the bank? Well, it's going to be 72 years. That is not, it's that for me was my wow moment. I was like, what? 72 years for my money to double in the bank? Now let's flip the coin, okay? Most of us take loans, credit cards. We have so much debt, in the pipeline. And these debt accrue interest at 12%, 18%. Some credit card actually give you interest at 23, 27%. And every 2 to 3 years, you are doubling your debt. Every 2 to 3 years, you are doubling your debt, and every 72 years, you are doubling your income. So it really doesn't match. So by the time we come to a point in our life where we are making so much money, we're making, a couple of hundred of thousand, we're making maybe, you're making a quarter million of a dollars, you have ballooned your debt. That now new money coming in is coming in to service old debt, and you can never be ahead. So this is the reality of majority of the 90% of Americans. And that is why it is important that we understand these strategies so that, hey, if you are going to invest, if even if you are, going to the store and say, hey, get this credit card, whoop, you grab your calculator. It's like, wait a minute, how many years am I going to double my debt? Versus my income. So it is, so this is real practical, things, strategies that we all have to go home, reflect, and start looking at our finances and be able to now think through and make sure that we are, making the right, decisions when it comes to our, investment and even our debt as well. But the wealthy, they are so good. They are so good at leveraging debt at lower interest rate, like 4%. Put it in places that give them 12, 13, 18%. They come back, they pay off the loan, they keep the rest, they wash, they rinse, and they repeat. That is how they become wealthy. So, let me see. Okay, there you go. All right. Well, now that we talked a little about how money works, this is my other favorite topic, how money get taxed. Okay, so money get taxed in three ways in this country. Tax now, tax later, tax never. Tax now, we all have these things, bank accounts, CDs, stocks, mutual funds. This is the double level of taxation. You put money in stocks, mutual funds, you have some gains in there. If you distribute your money from these assets, you have to pay what we call the capital gains tax, which are typically around 15%. And then when we come to our tax later, we're looking at our 401ks, which majority of us would have 401k, 403, IRAs, SEP IRAs, annuities, pensions. These are all pre-tax money that we put in these vehicles. We let it grow until retirement, and it grows tax deferred. And at retirement, that is when what we distribute these class of assets. When we distribute them at retirement, we actually pay ordinary income taxes. And when we are paying, I mean, one question I like to ask is, do you think taxes would remain the same, would go up, or will go down? I believe taxes will go up, looking at the trend, right? Taxes will go up. So the question here is, I mean, we put in a lot of money in our tax later bucket only to be taxed. So for instance, you put, let's say, 100,000 in your 401k, right? Or in your IRA. Because they are pre-tax, once you get to retirement and it's a million, and let's say your tax bucket is 30%, you literally have to have a pro rata share with Uncle Sam by giving Uncle Sam 300,000 of your money, right? And this is not to say that you should not do it. We believe, and I believe that you have to take advantage of all three buckets. Okay. Tax never. There are areas where you can put money or assets that does not have any tax implication, like your Roth IRA. Some of you may know it, some of you may have it. Muni bonds, 529 plan, 7702 plan. These are what we call the often overlooked asset. Okay, the Roth IRA, Muni, and by the way, 7702 plans, those are life insurance, proceeds, loans, and withdrawals. All these distributions are tax-free. That being said, I'd just like to walk through a hypothetical example here, assuming you did so well in your accumulation state. You put so much money away, and at the end of every year, or let's say every year in retirement, you want to withdraw 300,000. Assuming you put all your money in the income taxable asset, guess what? You would have to pay taxes now. You would have to pay state taxes. You have to pay federal taxes. And although you wanted to withdraw 300, you're going to go home with 213,000 after tax income and with a 28.86 effective tax rate. I know people always tell me that, hey, in retirement, I'm not going to be working, so I don't have to pay more taxes. Wrong. In retirement, your taxes is determined based on your distribution, the money that you bring in. That is what determines your effective tax rate. So question, hey, in the previous screen, you want to take 200, you ended, sorry, 300, you ended up with 280 with almost 29% effective tax. I don't think that will sit well with you. So our proposal is always make sure you are diversifying, right, in different asset classes. So the same 300, you did so well, but because you were well educated, you put money in different places, right? Your taxable income, your capital gains tax, like your investment in real estate, your stocks, your mutual funds, and of course your tax-free bucket like your Roth IRA and your 7702 plans. So although you want to withdraw 300, guess what? Because you put them in three different places, after the state and federal for your income taxable asset, capital gains asset, and with no state taxes on your tax-free asset, no federal taxes on your tax-free asset. Everything that you withdraw, you take everything home. When you combine everything, your after tax income, after diversifying, now will bring you 252,000. Isn't this a better scenario compared to the previous? And now, because you diversified, you have actually slashed your effective tax rate into two, almost half to 15%. Even better, because you are well educated, you were like, oh, now the market is not doing so good, so I'm not going to withdraw from here. I have a few real estate and mutual funds, but interests are not doing well, so I'm only going to withdraw just a little bit from here. And now I'm going to withdraw a whole lot from the tax-free because I don't pay any taxes. Your tax income after diversifying and even way more towards the tax-free bucket now yields you 281,000. And guess what? You have slashed your effective tax rate into the single digit. Question is, if I should go to every block and ask everyone, what scenario would you like in retirement? Everybody would tell me, I would like to pay 6% taxes. Question is, why are we doing the same thing over and over again with the hope that we can get a different result? No, it doesn't work that way. And that is why I do what I do. That is why I love the financial education, the financial literacy education, so that people now become aware, right? Now they sit back and start thinking about and reflect about, wait a minute, what can I do now so that when I get into my distribution age, I don't have to pay so much taxes. Question becomes, why pay more taxes than you need to do? I know a few years back, it was in the news that Donald Trump did not pay 700. Amazon did not pay federal taxes. You know, and the list goes on. But guess what? They are smart. This has nothing to do with evading taxes, but it's using, I mean, trying to reduce your tax liability in an ethical and legal manner. So it is very important that we start focusing and zoning in some of the overlooked asset like your Roth, your muni bond, your life insurance, because life insurance is, as a matter of fact, one of the areas that we don't like to even talk about because, it's kind of the mindset, right? Of where we come from and life insurance, but I feel it's about time we start talking about life insurance. As a matter of fact, it is one of the powerful and comprehensive financial planning tool. A few misconceptions about life insurance, though, and I'd like to, debunk that. It only benefit others when you die. It's wrong. I cannot access any money whilst I am alive. Wrong. If I don't pay or can't pay, I lose all my money. It's wrong. It will expire and I will get nothing. No, it is too expensive. I always like to address the last one. No, life insurance is it's if you do it right. Of course, there are different type of life insurance, and I will not sit here and say that, oh, they are all the same. No, not all life insurance are the same. So you need to be educated first, understand it, but it's not too expensive when you understand the value. The only time we say something is expensive is when you don't see the value, right? In the absence of value, you only see cost. But insurance as a whole is something that we consider an asset, right? When we talk about asset and our liabilities, life insurance is one of the assets that gets into our bottom line. So surprisingly, there's a surprisingly tax efficient vehicle like the life insurance, but not just any one, but the cash value life insurance. It does provide tax-free benefit protection, and it also provides tax-free supplemental income in your later years. Of course, we all know what life insurance does. The key is to protect you. You assign your responsibilities to it. Should you be sick, chronically or critically ill, it will take care of you. And those are the things that people even didn't know back then because we were only privy to one type of insurance. Now, just like your 401k, your 401k and your Roth IRA, it also has a tax deferred growth potential in your cash value. Okay. So you have the potential to grow your cash value tax deferred, which it's still like an investment within your policy. And it also have the tax-free income potential. So you can distribute those money tax-free in your retirement or whenever and however you want to distribute it, you can distribute those asset tax free. Talking about insurance, I like to, cover just basics about the types of insurance that, everyone should, be aware of, right? We have only two types of insurance, two main types, term and permanent. Okay. Term, as the word goes, is temporary. It's for a very short or specific period of time. It's temporary. It does have no cash value. You pay, you die, they pay, you don't die, they do not pay. And that's how it earns her insurance. Now, when it comes to permanent life insurance, the main difference between the term and the permanent is the cash value. But I will tell you for a fact, any life insurance when it comes to the cost of insurance, it would always, always go up with age. And I say that is just a rule of God. Okay. The older you get, of course, you may not be 100% insurable. You may have a few risks in there. So your cost of insurance always go up when you get older. When we talk about the permanent life insurance has evolved. The only one that people, started with permanent insurance was what we call the whole life and evolved to universal life, where it becomes flexible, and then index universal life, where now the cash value investment is now strategized in a way where you have a protected principal potential of having gains in the market or mirroring the market. You may have a cap, you may even have an uncapped strategies. So You don't lose anything. Or just as you do the term, you pay premiums, you don't get anything out of it. But if you're able to do a permanent policy using the right strategies that actually, accrue your excess cash, which becomes your investment within that strategy, you are able to build, some another repository of retirement assets that you can withdraw tax free. Talking about index universal life, I actually want to spend a little time about index strategies, just as in any index fund, right? And how that strategy works. So when we talk about index strategy, it all talks about how our money works in the market, okay, or in the bank. If we put money in the bank, we know that it's safe, but we have the risk of losing money, inflation risk, okay? So assuming you have $100, you put it in the bank, year one, year two, year three, you're getting 0.5% each year. At the end of year three, you have 101. And I'll tell you that, I mean, I can use 101 to buy, something that was worth $100 in 2020 as of today, because we know inflation has, I mean, hiked everything, all prices high. And that is why people go to investment. Now, with the investment, we know that we have secured some good returns, but it also comes with what? Market risk. You put the same $100 in the market, you may lose 20% in the first year. And then you can come back and bounce back and gain 20%, 10 in year two, year three, but you will never go back to your $100, even though you gain, because your money has to even work harder when your money loses money before it comes back to equilibrium, or it comes back to where it used to be. Now, index strategy now takes the best of both worlds. Index strategy takes the safety of the bank, the market returns, and it helps you to do what? Reduce risk from inflation and market-based risk. So same example, you put $100 in an index fund, index strategy. You gain, because it's index, you have a minimum and you have a maximum, right? So let's say you have a minimum of 0.75. Year one, you get the minimum. Year two, hey, you get some upward growth. Year three, you get upward growth. Now in year three, guess what? Your $100 has now gotten you 121. Obviously, it's better than putting it in the bank and, of course, investment. But this is not to say one is good than the other. But with an investment, we always have to be ready for the risk that is associated with investment. And with the bank, always be ready that you might lose money because of inflation. So when it comes to index strategy, what it does is it uses the market-based returns without the risk of losing your money. So that is all there is to know whenever you hear about index strategy or index funds, right? Or index universal life. Now, talking about index universal life again here, we talked about inflation, right? So assuming you add this to your portfolio, you have the growth because you do have the cap, right? The minimum and the maximum using index strategies. You have flexible contributions. As a matter of fact, we call index universal life as the Roth IRA on steroids, because Roth IRA will give you a cap of 7,500. 401k will give you a cap of 22,500. Index Universal Life would also give you a cup. It's also guided by the IRS, right? They also have an IRS cup, but the cup fluctuates with the level of, insurance that you buy or the policy that you put in place. Many years ago, this is what the wealthy used to do. They will buy 100,000 policy and put in $1 million cash value. So over 20 years, that million has grown to become 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, and they access the money tax free. So investment companies had to lobby Congress. And now Congress put in an act called the Demra-Tefra-Tamra law, which was enacted, and now, before you can put in that much, you need to actually buy a certain level of insurance in order for you to have a certain cap by the IRS. So now the cap fluctuates with the level of policy that you buy. But I say, hey, it's because they still give you certain cut. So assuming you have exhausted all your other buckets or investment strategies, obviously you have another place that you can put money. So, and it does have flexible contributions. You can do a make up loss contribution. Your 401k, your Roth IRA, if you it's use it or lose it in the sense that every year, if you don't contribute 7,500, you can't come back next year and say that, oh, I only contributed 7,000 last year. Therefore, this year I'm going to contribute the extra 500. You can do that with Index Universal, the 7702 plans. You can actually do a make-up loss contribution. Let's say your cap is 20,000, okay? And every year the first 5 years you were contributing 15,000. So you lost the opportunity to contribute 5,000 each. In the year, you can actually go back and do a make-up loss contribution, assuming you have a windfall, assuming you have some bonus come through, right? You can always come back and put it in there. And that is why we call it the Roth on steroids. And then talking about risk, okay? We talk about safety. It does have the contractual guarantee because you have like a minimum floor and a cap and some uncapped strategies. So you never ever lose money due to market losses. Now let's talk about taxes. From a tax advantage purposes, it grows just like your 401k and your Roth IRA. It's a tax deferred. You have penalty-free, tax-free access through withdrawals and WOH loans. No required minimum distribution. And this is key because when we put money in our other asset, and I always go back because it's the same thing, Roth IRA, it works like Roth IRA in your 401k. In your 401k Roth IRA, if you do not distribute your money at age 72, now you're going to pay penalty for keeping your money there for so long because the IRS wants you to take the money so you can get taxed. So at 72, if you don't start distributing your money from your Roth IRA, from your 401k, now you have to pay 25%. Prior to Secure Act 2.0, it used to be 50% penalty if you don't take your money out from your qualified plans by age 72, you have to pay 50% as penalty for not withdrawing your money. And that's what we call the required minimum distribution. And in an index strategy under the 7702 plan, there are no required minimum distribution. So that money can keep rolling for whatever years you want it to be, and nobody will tax you for not withdrawing your money. And it does not create a taxation of Social Security benefit as well. Protection, of course, it is an insurance, therefore, you have that permanent tax-free death benefit. Should you be sick and you have a chronic and critical illness or even long-term care, monies are distributed to you tax-free. And when I talk about the chronic and critical, um, as long as you trigger two of the ADLs, activity of daily living, if you cannot continent, you can't move, you can eat by yourself, you can bathe by yourself, as long as you qualify for two, the doctor signs off that you cannot perform two of the ADLs, you qualify for what? Critical chronic illness, and then you start distributing your income. And this is where we talk about should you become disabled? Should something happen to you and you cannot work? How are you going to get money? Because first of all, 100% income that is coming in on a monthly basis may not even be enough. More or less getting the 60% disability income the company is paying you. So at any point in time, you have to secure yourself where you have income replacement. And this critical chronic illness would give you income replacement if you trigger two or more of your ADS, and it's tax free. It also protects you if you have built, a sizable amount in there. You are protected from lawsuit. It varies from state to state, but at least in the state of Texas, my cash value is protected against lawsuit. Okay. And then, of course, concierge, and you can actually use it as estate planning as well, as we all know from an income perspective. There are many uses of index universal life. You can use it for emergencies. You can use it for college funding, retirement, leaving a legacy. You can use it for business solutions. Just want to touch a little on the college funding. The other college funding tax-free is 529 plans. Some may know, some may it might be new to you. The 529 plan is a state-funded plan. You put money in there, it grows tax deferred, and as long as you distribute the money for college expenses for your children, it is tax-free. If you distribute the money for anything other than college, now you need to pay penalty. Now you need to pay taxes, right? And then it becomes a taxable event. So the wealthy many years ago will still use a cash value plans for their children for college. And the one thing that I am a victim of is, and let me just go through, yeah, they both have competitive rate, right? Grow competitively. When it comes to safety from the market, no, because this is in the market. This one is what? An index strategy. So you don't lose money in the market. And then tax deferred growth, both of them grow tax deferred. Tax deductible, no, because this is after tax money. Tax-free access, yes, they all have tax-free access. And this tax-free access is only when you use it for college. If you don't use it for college, it becomes taxable. Death benefit protection, yeah, because this is an insurance, you will still have some insurance in there. Flexible contributions, they all have flexible contributions. Income contribution limit, no. Control and usage flexibility. You do not have control with your 529 education plan, but you have control of your IUL. Financial aid eligibility. This is the one thing that a lot of people don't know. If you have 529 plan, your children may not qualify for Pell Grant, grants and scholarship. You know why? The intent of 529 plan is to save for college. So if your children have 529, it goes towards their expected family contribution. It is the child asset. And because the child have asset, he or she is required to distribute those assets before they qualify for grant course, they might get subsidized loans and other merit scholarships based on their academics, right? But when we are talking about FAFSA and their eligibility for Pell Grant, they are not eligible because it's considered a child asset. And this is the one thing that a lot of people don't know. So very, very important. I was a victim of it. I did this for my child many, many years ago. My daughter going to college, she did not get a penny from Pell Grant because she had 529 plan, and it was part of the family contribution. And of course, penalties, there are no penalties here, penalties there. So this is where we try to compare some of, the plans for, college funding. And if you can do this for your children, it's a college funding, absolutely yes. And let me tell you, at what age does the wealthy do this for their children? When they are 2 weeks old, when they have their social security, that is when they buy the cash value policy for their children because children have time. And the only asset we all have in common is time. If I'm at age 40 or even at age 50 and I want to retire at age 50, I only have 10 years. But a brand new child has a lot of time before they even reach 18, before they reach 25, and even before they reach their 40s. So they have a lot of time. And like I said earlier, you can only build consistent wealth over time. Okay, so that's it. I'm wrapping up here. I know I've been a little bit long-winded, but this is my passion. I love it. I love to talk about, these strategies so that people now start thinking and, planning their financial future, knowing that they have what it takes to be able to be their own money manager. These same strategies, you can use it for your business, right? So if you have business owners, you can leverage some of these strategies. There are so many questions that business owners ask themselves. How do I even leverage my business to fund my comfortable retirement? Yep. You can use index strategies to fund your retirement. using income solution plans through index strategies, right? How do I attract, or how do I attract and retain top talent? How do I ensure my business continues to thrive if I lose a key employee? There's something called key employee executive bonus plans. Those are all strategies that you can use using index strategies to retain top employee in case you lose a key employee. This is something that you can actually use. If you have partnership, right? We have what we call the buy and sell agreement. And these are all insurance strategies that businesses have used so that should anything happen to a business partner, guess what? Insurance kicks in and that money is used to offset the sale of your portion of the business so that the family can either decide to, keep their interest in the business or sell their business, their portion of the business. So it can be very multifaceted, sophisticated, but I tell you, this is something that I feel we all have to know, whether being a business owner or, uh, an individual, right? So talking about implementation, we always talk about, hey, if you want to implement any type of strategies, always start with free money. Free money, like I mentioned, 401k, 403b, 457 TSB, always get the free money. A lot of companies will provide you with 401k, always get the match. I know people may do more than the match because that is all they know. No, it is not an ideal situation for you to do more than the match. Okay. Always do the match because if you do more than the match, you risk your money fluctuating and, allowing yourself to be taxed in the future. Rather, divest into other plans like your Roth IRA, right? Do the match, divert the rest into Roth IRA where you would not be taxed in the future. So it's all about diversifying. And then the next step in your implementation will be your tax free. After free money, go to tax-free money. Your Roth IRA, your cash value policies, right? And HSA. Some folks, I know some companies provide you with HSA plan. Use Make sure you take full advantage of your HSA plans, okay? And then now you start thinking of tax-deferred money, like your IRAs, your private pensions, your annuities, before you think about taxable accounts like your brokerage account. So this is a smart money order or implementation approach that you have to start, thinking through as to how you build your strategies. And hey, these are some of my favorite books. I have some electronic, so if you're interested to, learn more, read more as to how you can use all the things that I've talked about, these books does a really good justice, right? And explains how some of the big the wealthy like the Kennedys, the Rockefellers have actually used some of these strategies to build their wealth and continue to build their wealth. So feel free to take a picture. And if you want to read them, absolutely. And that's it. I know I may have gone over, but thank you all for still staying online. But hey, if you have any questions, I'm open here. So yeah, this wraps up my session. Thank you for allowing me to share. Any
Wow.
questions? I'm open for questions.
I feel like I need time to digest everything
It's a lot.
and need a part two of this. I don't know if anybody agree with me, but it feels like there's so much more to learn. This is awesome. We have any questions before I continue? But
And I can actually send a quick survey just to, I mean, if anyone wants to reach out, talk to me, do a financial checkup, which I always encourage. We all go to our annual checkup once a year. Everyone should be doing their financial checkup once a year. You know, even, they say you have to put your goals on paper, right? If you see it, you have a full grasp of your finances, right? So please, I'm sending you a quick, survey from here. Feel free to, let me know if you're interested in hearing more and what type of information you are interested in, and I'll be more than happy to reach out.
Good. That sounds good. That was a great presentation. Great, great, great presentation. Anybody have any question? We can take one or two questions before we end. Okay. All right, no questions.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that's interesting. No questions. Oh, there was a lot of
feel like
information.
yeah, I mean, you definitely covered a lot of things, which to me personally, I think there were a lot of things that I've always had question about. So you did cover most of the questions that I would have loved to ask, but I need more. So yes, I'll reach out to you to get more direction, especially on the business owners aspect of things.
Absolutely. And also, I have an upcoming workshop on estate planning next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So I can share that with you. You can, share that with your with the platform. And if anybody wants to hear more about estate planning, absolutely can, join in the conversation and, listen to it as well.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds great. Thank you so much. And once you send it to me, I can send it to the group. Those are some good, 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 deep, you know, discussions.